Welcome back for another video. I'm Eharbad, and in today's video, we're actually going to do something that I've never done on this channel ever before, and that's we're going to react to JGigs' video. One of my clanmates posted it in Discord, and I just started watching it just to see what he was going to say. And a few seconds in, he challenged content creators to react to it. So I thought, you know what? Even though I don't really classify myself as a true content creator. I don't do it full time. It's not my job, inverted commas, and I'm not part of the RAID content creator program. I thought, why not? Let's do it anyway. Let's see what he has to say, react to it, make a video, and yeah, just take it from there, really.
So if you're watching this, I would appreciate it if you would go bug the other content creators about reacting to this video, or at the very least watching it and sharing some thoughts. I know that a lot of them are probably similar to me in that they don't watch a lot of other raid videos.
Is there really anything to watch these days? I mean, there's not been any content in the game that's actually interesting for a long, long time. I guess you could still do arena tactics, those never get tired. Hydra, I think, still has some reasonable complexity and content to be delved into, but it's not popular. Like, you put out Hydra videos, people don't actually watch it that much.
So this might not pop up for them. So I need you guys to go bug them about this a little bit. I'm calling y'all out. I think it's time for us to try to make some sort of a change. This game is in such a bad state right now, and we've been gradually watching it get pulled further and further away from its potential.
And again, I think that's because there's no content worth doing. You know, all the new content they've added to the game in the last year or so, really since Doom Tower, is extremely repetitive and grindy. And you know, aside from Hydra, where, like I said, there is some complexity and it can actually be quite fun and interesting, although it is a bit tedious because you have to do it every week, and if you want to get a good score, you have to do it manual, and there's a little bit too much RNG. Put that to one side. Everything else is auto farm, boring. The rewards are not exciting. Yeah, I think that is the issue. It's, yes, monetization's a problem. Yes, there's a lot of mechanics in the game they've added that are problematic. But moreover, there's just not enough content that's actually interesting and engaging.
Over the last several years, I mean, pretty much since the game came out, and that's tough. That's frustrating to watch because the game has such a good foundation. There's a lot in this game to enjoy, but Plarium almost refuses to let you enjoy it. It's almost like they're trying to do the worst things they can come up with just to see if they can still make as much money as they're making. And they must be, because it's only getting worse every single day, it feels like at this point lately. I don't think anybody needs to be convinced that this is terrible.
I mean, I made a state of the game video over summer. Must be, I don't know, like 3, 4, 5 months ago now. I mean, the game's been heading in this direction for over a year. It's not new. It's just, I think it's reached that point where the awareness of it is now that much higher. But the trajectory has been there since Doom Tower. And it's like you put a frog in cold water and you turn up the heat. That's essentially what's happened. People just didn't want to maybe acknowledge it, or maybe they were still having enough fun that it didn't matter. And I think that's, again, the crux of the matter, is that once you've been around long enough and you've done all the content enough, you realize that, yeah, that you have to find your own fun. You have to make your own fun, and it is becoming harder to do that because they haven't added any interesting content. I keep saying it. And they have added all these additional mechanics that make the game feel more of a chore. And I think it's just reaching that imbalance.
And it's one of many things that's terrible, but this is the freshest of them. This is a deliberate smack in the face, and people are going to participate in it because Plarium doesn't care what we say. There's been a pattern for years where Plarium does the thing that they do. All the content creators make videos about how bad it is. All of the comments echo the sentiment, and the community as a whole, at least the YouTube side of the community as a whole, kind of expresses, "We don't like this. This is bad." But then we also turn right around from that and continue to give them money and continue to do the fusions and buy their passes and participate in the events and tournaments and do all of the things that we just talked about how much we hate.
Yeah, and I mean, there's always a balance, right? They would react if people stopped spending. I do solemnly believe that. But the people that are watching YouTube videos are a small proportion of the player base. So even if the vocal minority take a stand, it's unlikely to have a material impact on their bottom line. Um, Truthfully, the biggest and most effective protest you can actually have is to stop playing and play something else and do something else. Because that is the most successful form of protest for yourself, because you recuse yourself from the situation. You don't have to be bothered or concerned with the outcome. Obviously, there are areas in between. There are some effective forms of protest, but it's a game at the end of the day. Like, it's not. You shouldn't need some kind of show of political will to ensure change. It's not that important. But we should do it anyway. Why not?
So we say one thing, but then they have data and analytics and revenue that says another. And that's what they care about. They care about the money, number one, but they also care about having analytics that back up the decisions they're making. So if we embrace this mindset of, well, we've got to do it because it's all we've got. They're apparently never going to stop doing fusion, so I might as well just do all the fusions. The events are never going to get better, so I might as well just do what I have. That, coupled with the culture they've created where you're missing out if you don't do everything. If you miss this fusion, you could be missing out on the next Brogni.
But let's be honest, isn't that just the gacha style? In fact, kind of the live service model. There's always FOMO in everything. So, if you're going to take the approach that I don't want to be exposed to FOMO, then you need to not play these games. Plarium are particularly bad in their implementation. They're not player friendly, 100%. But we have to take responsibility for our own decisions as well. And I guess it's a question of, ultimately, if you are continuing to play the game, but then deciding not to participate in the events or the game modes that exist, why are you playing the game in the first place? Spending is one thing. I agree, you can definitely send a message by not spending if you can convince a large enough proportion of the spending base to take that stand with you. But in terms of not participating in the game at all, or rather playing the game but not participating, that seems like the worst situation for everyone. I would say you either just stop playing for a while and take a break from the game fully, or if you play it in a way that you find enjoyment. And if that means participating in the events gives you enjoyment, then you should continue to do that. Otherwise, what's the point?
You don't do this event, you're not going to get all those legendary tomes at the bottom. You're missing out. If you don't pull your shards, you're missing out. How can you pass up on this? You've got a 25x chance to get blah blah blah. How could you pass up? They're always trying to make you be empty. They're always trying to make you feel like you're missing out and that you need to spend money to not be missing out. And that's got to stop. It doesn't have to be that way. There's plenty of other mobile games that are not like this, right? And again, the foundation here is great, and there's a lot of fun to be had in the game. But this champion pass is the most boring, lazy, uninspired battle pass I've ever seen in a game since battle passes have been a thing. And if enough people buy this, this is what they'll look like forever. There will be no reason for them to change it or try to make it better if enough people buy it, and I worry that enough people have. But I feel like as a community, we need to try to make them understand that 50,000 silver brews and clan boss keys aren't enough for something like this. That's not going to cut it if you're trying to get our real life money.
Well, to be honest, there shouldn't really be anything in the battle pass that justifies the expense. Like, if we're going to take a more pragmatic approach, this battle pass costs the same as a fully fledged game, and what you're getting a champion and some resources. I mean, the whole pricing model on pay to win games is nonsensical, and that's why I personally play free to play, and I do it for my own kind of challenge, if you will, and that's how I get enjoyment out of the game is beating things with a handicap, if you will. But the actual, if we really want to dig into the economics of the game, it's ridiculous. And if you say the whole thing is nonsense in terms of pay to win, obviously companies that produce a product need to make money. I'd be happier with the pay once model, or if you have like a subscription service where you're basically paying to keep the servers active, fine. But I recognize that's not the environment we're in, so there's no point having a long conversation on that topic right now. But the reality is, you're buying this pass to buy the champion. Beyond that, it's just shades of grey. Now, the fact that you can buy a champion, I think, is kind of degrades the point of the game in itself. And it was one of the things I actually quite liked about Raid at the beginning of when I first started playing it, was that everyone had the chance to get the same champions. You probably weren't going to get them all, and definitely if you didn't spend, you were never going to get them all. But you had the same chance to get a given champion. There was no empowerments. You only needed to get one copy. It was a binary thing. Now, of course, with empowerment, you need to get multiple copies. And now there's certain champions that if you weren't playing at a certain time, you can't get. Or now with Xena, pretty sure you don't buy this pass, you'll never be able to get her once the duration is finished. And I personally, I don't know, there's something a little bit uneasy about that. I don't like that. It's not a mechanic I like. But if we say the mechanic exists, then what does it matter if they charge, say the cost is $40 or £40? Does it matter whether they throw in a bit of extra energy or not? Okay, it makes it varying degrees of overpriced, because in my opinion, buying a champion in the first place is kind of silly. And then it's just, like I said, it's just shades of grey at that point. Once you go into it, it's a slippery slope. I prefer the forms of power they sell that isn't a binary. You can either have it or you can't. Okay, people who spend should get it faster than people who don't. That's fine. But to put something entirely behind a paywall, I think, is in itself a bad approach to game design. So once you've already made that transition, I don't really care, how far you go. It's you've already gone. You're already past it. It's already in a bad space, in my opinion. Anyway, let's carry on.
You can't do a crossover and not have the champ even look like the person it's supposed to look like. Who is this lady? That's not Xena. That's Christy from down the street in a Xena costume. They're not trying. They don't care.
Profit mode, dude.
This is unbelievably uninteresting. And they don't care, and they don't have to care. And that's frustrating. And I think as a community, we can change that. I would love to see them. I would love to feel like they care about this game. I would love to feel like they care about the community. I would love to see anniversary events that are something more than the number of the year it is on the banners in the events tabs, but the same events and the same shit.
I mean, the problem is we have played this game long enough to know if they do something more creative, they will include some model within that is it's a form of monetization, but it also is a form of trapping the player base. They have not done something that's purely fun, that doesn't have any negative side effects for an extremely long time. Like I said, Doom Tower, the last thing that was pure fun, that was only an addition, that didn't have any negatives.
Third year anniversary, we got cakes and threes. Fourth year anniversary, they dropped the cakes. We got fours. They don't do anything interesting. Anniversary events in mobile games are supposed to be a big deal. That's supposed to be the developer saying, "Thank you for getting us another year in an industry where it's very tough to rack up years." This is a very competitive industry. This is tough. So when your players carry you another year, you're supposed to appreciate that. That's supposed to mean something. But they have such clear disdain for their player base. Like they straight up have made it clear they don't even like us. That they put a few fours. And for the 5th anniversary, they'll throw a few fives in, if that. Because again, they downgraded from 3 to 4. So who knows what we're getting at the 5th year anniversary, but they don't like you. These other games, these other mobile games, some of them, it feels like they appreciate their players, and it's so noticeable. It's kind of the difference in how a small business feels about their customers versus how like Walmart feels about their customers.
And I'm kind of glad he made that comparison, because the reality is, outside of mobile games, what businesses celebrate their own anniversaries or give anything away? Not many. I can't think of any retailers or other entertainment companies, streaming services or whatever, that give you something more on their own anniversary. I mean, for me, I don't really care either way. I would just rather, if they did good events, period, that's all I care about. I don't care whether it's tied into a particular time of year or a celebration of their own anniversary or the game's anniversary. Just give me some good content.
They know that they're fine. They know they're getting your money, and they don't even really want to interact with you. They don't care what you think. They don't care what you think. They care how much money they make. They care what their data says. If we go into their wallets for a change, the game will get better. And I bet you it'll get better rapidly. I know that as the YouTube community, we're not the whole player base, and we're not even a majority of the player base, but we're enough of the player base. If we weren't, they wouldn't engage with us at all. There would
Well, I mean, they would still engage with us because we're a sizable minority that is vocal, and we're what you'd call like the hardcore part of the player base. You don't have to necessarily even be a large minority for them to be worth their time to engage with us. But I wouldn't be under any illusions that we're that big within the overall global population of players. I think if they actually gave us like some decent data on that, I think we'd be surprisingly small percentage of the overall revenue that they get. Obviously, they spend nothing, so don't include me in that. The overall revenue and the overall active player base.
wouldn't be a content creator program. They wouldn't do the things with the content creators that they do. They wouldn't bother. But there's enough of us here, right? There's enough of the whale population that's engaged with the YouTube community to make a difference. We can't dry their whole well up, but we can put a dent in their revenue. There's plenty of this game to play without rewarding their nonsense. continue to do Doom Tower, farm your dungeons, build your champions. Again, there's plenty of dungeons in the game. There's plenty to do. I've been playing the game like this for a while in the Free to Succeed series. I have not done any fusions. I tried to do one or two early on, but I haven't done any fusions. I don't get too caught up in their summon events. If there's a good 10x or something or an extra legendary, I'll summon occasionally. I don't bother much with the events or tournaments. I have so much more fun playing this game the more disconnected I get from everything they're doing. I promise you there's fun to be had without participating in everything they're doing. And it's going to have to change because it's so unfun. It's so unfun.
Easy to navigate and easy on the eyes.
And I'm just tired of watching them treat their players like shit and get away with it. So again, I'm kind of officially calling my fellow content creators out. React to the video, share your thoughts on the video. So if you agree or disagree, fine. I'm interested in the discussion.
I mean, I agree with the sentiment. I don't think we'll necessarily manage to unionize in the way that's going to engender real change. Purely whether you spend or not is going to have the biggest impact on driving change, and whether you can actually get enough people not to spend who, A, maybe are addicted to the gambling aspect of the game, or B, are so deep down the rabbit hole of trying to maintain their own edge and player power within the game that to risk stopping spending would risk basically losing their space or their slot in the game. I think it's very challenging. I do think, basically what you're saying, really, if I want to sum it up, is interact with the parts of the game that bring you enjoyment and don't spend on rubbish. Is that fair? I mean, I would like to think that's what I do already. And probably the majority of the people who watch me probably do that. So I think this probably wasn't aimed at me.
But I do believe if we all came together as a community, we can make enough of an impact that they have to start treating this game a little differently. And I would love to see this game start working its way back toward its potential rather than continuing to get aggressively yanked away from it. This game feels like it's getting worse by the day. And while I enjoy logging on and having stuff to rant about and making the skits, and that's all fun for me, what would be more fun, I think, is to log in and have this game be good and feel like Plarium's actually trying to take it in a healthy direction and feel like Plarium cared about their players a little bit. And for there to be stuff in the game that I really wanted to genuinely get invested in. You know what I mean? I have enough fun playing it the way I play it. And again, it's fun for me to log in and find stupid shit that they do and rant about it. I get a kick out of that, and other people seem to get a kick out of that. But dude, can we try a little bit, Plarium? Can you try a little bit to do something good? Sometimes. I think we can force him to, and that's basically what it's about. So it's official. I'm officially calling for the strike. Don't give them any money.
Easily done. I will ensure I do not give them any money. Don't worry, J Gigs. I've got you with that.
Don't do any fusions.
Can't say I'll necessarily not do any fusions. I don't have you with that.
Stay out of the tournaments and events tabs.
Again, I'll probably do the ones that I want to do, particularly if they relate to the fusions I'm already doing, and if they give me a soul I want. So, yeah, I can't say I'm going to follow you on that one either.
Don't participate in these stupid ass summon events they're doing.
Again, if I need to, I will.
Right? If there's a 2x is a good summon event to play around in. The double Lego can be fun to play around in. 10x's and any of the x's don't do. Fuck these summon pull stupid ass events.
Well, I mean, the Prism ones I don't tend to do anyway because they've put the acquisition of the Prism fragments in such ridiculous parts of the game that I haven't actually engaged with it. in ages. So got you there.
Just disconnect for a little bit from all of.
That's why I went on holiday for 2 weeks and didn't log in once, and made that video when I came back saying I'm not sure what I'm going to do next, and it's not going to be 100% raid. And it's not just because of Plarium, it's the fact that I've been playing the game for over, 3.5 years now. And it's not exactly like it's got the biggest breadth of content there is, and they haven't added any really good content since Doom Tower. So it's unsurprising that we're beginning to feel fatigue
of this bullshit. Stop rewarding them. Don't buy packs. If you need, let's talk about one real quick, if it's still here. Something like this. This is an example of one. There's multiple versions of this. They're selling you fractions of a summon. And I hope that you hear that. I hope you hear that for what that is. That is, they want your real life money. They're offering you multiple different versions of packs for your real life money for a fraction of a summon. This is 1/6 of a summon, and they want your real money for that. There's another one that popped up for me that's 10. It's gone now. I hope everybody hears how insane that is. It's a game to them. They're fucking with you. And some of you are still giving them money. They're walking up and spitting in your face and you're paying them for it.
That's because there's enough people that don't make good decisions for their own, not just their wallet, but for their own well-being. And unfortunately, that is the reality of the human condition.
We have to stop. We have to stop. So I guess it's official. I guess it's official. I'm the one doing it. I'm calling for the strike. I think as the YouTube community as a whole is big enough to make an impact and maybe make this game better. So let's see if we can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, what to say, really? I agree that the trajectory of travel has been very bad. And that if anything was going to change that path, it would be a reduction in revenue for Plarium. So if people were able to agree not to spend, i.e. kind of a unionization of the player base and a strike against spending, that would actually have a tangible impact. We can all voice our opinion about how bad certain mechanics are, how uninspiring the events are, how uninspiring the content is, but it's not massively pushing the needle. If it did, it would have done so already, and it hasn't. So I think we have the option not to spend, which I've been doing the entire time anyway, and we have the option not to play. And that's kind of where our power as players is. It's money and time. So have a little think all for yourselves. Whatever is best for you, that's what I advise you to do. As it's not my place to tell you what to do with either your money or your time. But I myself am not spending and never will. Partly because that's how I chose to play the game, but also, as other people have alluded to, I wouldn't want to spend money with a company that treats their player base or their customers in the way that Plarium does. I would be much more likely to spend in other circumstances if the company running the game was a little bit less. Can't think of a nice word. Egregious with their abuse of the players. Let's go with that. Anyway, this has been a very long video in the end. I think J Giggs' original video was like 11 minutes. My reaction is nearly 30 minutes. Maybe there's a reason why I don't do reaction content. I'm too opinionated. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Something very, very different. And I don't know if I will do more reaction in the future, but since there was a challenge for content creators to react to the video, I never want to shy away from a challenge. As always, thanks for watching. Please do like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.